You are Locked On Knicks POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, we are back. No Karl Anthony Towns tonight for the Knicks as they return home. It proved to be costly. The Orlando Magic come into Madison Square Garden and beat the Knicks tonight, 103-94. Make it 3 straight defeats for the Knicks. Cat sat with a sore knee. Obviously, Orlando took advantage of that. The first of 5 consecutive at the Garden for New York, and it was ugly. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. If not, welcome aboard. More than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. Remember to follow me on X, at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Welcome to the Locked On Knicks postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Knicks podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Knicks game, and that's exactly what we do. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. The three-point shooting of late for the Knicks has been dreadful. Tonight, no exception. Get this, folks. At one point, the Knicks missed 15 consecutive three-pointers. That is never good. All that coming up on the postcast. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Also want to tell you that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now. LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. As we said, 103-94, the final score, and the Knicks look tired tonight. And because of it, they've now lost 3 in a row. That's the first time this season the Knicks have lost 3 in a row. They had lost 2 in a row twice. Well, now they've lost 3 in a row once. One of the final teams in the NBA, if you will, to lose 3 consecutive games. Obviously, teams like Oklahoma City and Cleveland haven't lost 3 in a row, but the Knicks now have. They're 24-13 overall, 11-5 at home. As we said, 5 straight at the Garden. Believe it or not, they'll go 5 straight at the Garden twice in the next month. So this is the first of those 2 5-game trips or 5-game homestands. And the Magic win it 103-94. We've told you about Orlando over the last couple of weeks. Injured, big time, missing their top 4 players, both Wagner's, Banchero, and obviously Jalen Suggs as well. So 4 of their top 5 scorers are down. You figured the Knicks would win comfortably tonight. In fact, they were favored by 12, but they didn't get it done. Even more surprising is the fact that the Knicks have been so good at home of late. They were 11-4 coming into tonight. They're now 11-5. The Knicks' average margin of victory at home over 11 points. In fact, 11.2 points. So they're blowing out their opponents. Tonight, not the case. They lose by 9 again, 103-94. As for the top scorers, both Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson pumped in 24 apiece. Bridges had a night, 10 of 20 from the floor. But again, the three-pointers, for lack of a better term, just disgraceful. You cannot miss 15 consecutive three-pointers. By the way, the Knicks were 3 of 6 from three-point land to start, missed their next 15 before Cam Payne made a garbage time three-pointer late with under a minute to play to stop the streak at 15. Knicks were 4 of 22 from 3. That's 18%, obviously well below their season's percentage, their season's average. But again, the Knicks look tired tonight, and there's no rest for the weary. They will not play on Tuesday, but they'll play on Wednesday, and then Friday, and then Sunday. And then Monday again. We'll get to the schedule coming up. But again, you get the point. 24 each for Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson. As we said, no Karl Anthony Towns tonight. Sat with a sore knee. just the third game he's missed this season. Coincidentally, Jericho Sims, who started tonight, has now started, you guessed it, 3 games. All 3 that Cat was out for. Sims played 29 minutes, had just 4 points, but did collect 10 rebounds. Not a single Knick was a plus in the plus-minus category, with the exception of Landry Shamet, who actually got pretty good minutes tonight. He played 21 minutes, was a +1. Everyone else was a negative. And speaking of the rotation, the Knicks are down to essentially an 8-man rotation before Mitchell Robinson comes back, whenever he does. Ochua, Payne, and Landry Shamet came off the bench tonight. The Knicks, for really the better part of 3 or 4 games now, have gone with the 8-man rotation. So, no Deuce McBride, who was injured again, still out with the hamstring. Obviously, no Karl Anthony Towns. And then the bit players, Ryan, Toppin, Huckporty, and Kolek. Nobody saw the court tonight. Also, some interesting things about Orlando. Yes, they're struggling, but only because their best players aren't there. In fact, they're 22-16. That was their 9th road win of the season. And kudos to them, considering the injuries. As we said, Banchero, both Wagner brothers, and Jalen Suggs all out. 4 of their top 5 scorers. Believe it or not, when we heard this stat on the broadcast, I'm sure you were as shocked as I was. Not a single player in the starting lineup or off the bench tonight for Orlando came into tonight averaging 10 points. Not a single player. And by the way, they had 5 guys come off the bench. They had a 10-man rotation. So 10 players played tonight for Orlando. Not one entered averaging at least 10 points a game. Figures tonight they go off. By the way, they scored 103 tonight. Believe it or not, another, oh my God, they've scored under 100 points 14 times, most in the NBA, and the Knicks couldn't do that. By the way, Orlando plays great defense, and they certainly showed it tonight. They're the 2nd-rated defensive team in the NBA, and they certainly stuck it to the Knicks. Another sour third quarter for New York. They were outscored 41-17 in the third quarter against the Bulls 2 nights ago. Tonight, they put up 17 points in the third quarter again. They were outscored by Orlando 22-17. If Orlando hit any of their shots in the third quarter, Knicks would have been down way more. Knicks just scored 26 points in the fourth. We've added it all up. It's 43 points and a half. Kudos to the Orlando defense. As we said, 2nd best defensive team in the NBA ratings-wise. And obviously the Knicks missed Karl Anthony Towns. But, again, hard to play Orlando, lose to Orlando on your home court, and then complain you didn't have Cat. And I'm not suggesting the Knicks were complaining. Just saying, logic dictates you can't complain when you're seeing the Orlando Magic in your own building. They don't have anybody. As we said, not a single player entering tonight's game had an average of 10 points per game. Not a single player. So the Knicks, following a loss now this season, are 9-3. That's right, folks. They were 9-2. They're now 9-3. And as we've talked about, yes, friendly schedule in regards to travel. Not much of it at any point in January for the Knicks. However, the competition stiffens. From here on out, with 44 games remaining, the Knicks have the toughest remaining schedule in the NBA. And if you're going to continue without guys like Cat, well, the Knicks are going to struggle. The Knicks bench, lowest scoring in the league at 17 points per game. Not much of a surprise tonight. They scored 18. Precious Ochua had 10. Unfortunately, he was a -14, and Cam Payne had 8, including that three-pointer late that snapped that streak of misses from three-point land at 15. So the bench, once again, right around their average. They averaged 17 a game. They scored 18. In comparison, points off the bench for Orlando, they were brilliant. They scored 50 points off the bench. So 50-18. Now, admittedly, the bench at least usage for Orlando, is a lot higher than it is for the Knicks. We don't see much of Matt Ryan or Jacob Toppin or Ariel Hukporti or Tyler Kolek for that matter. The Knicks do have a true 8 or 9 man rotation, even without Mitchell Robinson, which will obviously change things when he gets back. But again, you take it with a grain of salt, the bench numbers. Yes, the Knicks have one of the best starting fives in all of the sport, and they have the coach that loves to beat him into the ground with minutes. So right then and there is your explanation as to why the bench numbers are so low. All right, we'll talk about the plus minus as we do every night. We'll break down the three-point shooting, which was, as we said, brutal. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron's going to drop 30? Or maybe Luka's going to get more than 8 assists? Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. I've been using Prize Picks all season, and let me tell you, it's pretty addictive. Last week, I picked Jason Tatum for more than 29 points and Anthony Edwards for more than 25. That's the kind of action I'm talking about. And with Prize Picks flex play option, even if one of my picks doesn't hit, I can still double my money. Plus, once I hit, I get my money fast, sometimes as quick as 15 minutes. How about that? It's honestly the best way to keep the game exciting. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Again, that's Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, the postcast is back. My name is Jay Berman. Remember to follow me on X at Jay Berman, Jayberman. A pretty bad loss tonight for the Knicks as we get into gear. Segment number 2 of the postcast. 103-94, the Magic beat the Knicks at the Garden. First of 5 straight at Madison Square Garden. You figured this would be one of the easy ones. It wasn't. 4 of the top 5 scorers for Orlando are out. They've been out for a while. They'll continue to be out. And yet they continue to play tough, specifically on the defensive end. Speaking of tough, as we said, from here on out, the Knicks schedule, the toughest in the NBA. We'll get to the schedule and the standings coming up. Karl Anthony, the son of Greg Anthony, our old friend. Well, he was a stud tonight. Led Orlando with 24 on 9 of 18 shooting. Even more amazing is he's not the only son of an NBA star on the team. Obviously, Karl Anthony, as we said, son of Greg. Jet Howard, who came off the bench tonight and scored 9 points, the son of Juwan Howard. So the youngsters who were not getting much play time at all when all 4 of the top scorers on Orlando were in there, well, now they're getting a chance to play, and they are doing well. As we said, Jet Howard had 9 points on 4 of 7 shooting. He was the plus-minus leader tonight for both teams. He was a plus 11, the only player that was a double-digit plus-minus tonight. Again, in the 103-94 Knicks loss. Wendell Carter really stunk things up for the Knicks in the fourth quarter specifically. He entered the game 8 for 50 from 3. Folks, for the season, 8 for 50. Tonight, hit all 3. And they were back-breaking killers. They were absolute daggers. Late, he got the job done. He was a 16% shooter from 3, 8 of 50. He was 3 for 3 tonight. What do you know? So the Knicks are now 14-5 over their last 19, 19-7 in their last 25. And as we said, following a loss this season, they are now 9-3. Okay, so as for the standings, well, We told you Orlando was fading fast a couple of nights ago. Well, they decided not to fade fast just yet. The Knicks are now 24-13, 8 full games behind the Cavs for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Cavs, by the way, 31-4, best mark in the NBA. Celtics next at 26-10. They're 5.5 behind the Cavs. Knicks are 8 behind the Cavs, 2.5 behind the Celtics, but they lose a game to the Magic, who are right on their heels. Knicks are in the 3 spot. Again, 8 behind the Cavs, but they lose a game to the Magic in the standings. Now lead Orlando by just 2.5 in the standings. Magic are 22-16. And again, they're doing it without the services of their best players. Knicks didn't have their best player tonight, and it mattered. Knicks are 24-13, again, 8 behind the Cavaliers. And suddenly we have a losing skid that we must dissect. Knicks 103-94 loss tonight. They've now lost 3 in a row for the very first time this season. Bit surprising considering it came against Orlando. Even more surprising, it came against Orlando at home. 21 road games for the Knicks this season. That's tied for the most in the NBA. They have played 15 home games, but they have 2 5-game homestands scheduled over the next month. Most of January will be played in New York. A span during which the team will play, get this, 11 of 13 at Madison Square Garden. We told you not 1, but 2 separate 5-game homestands, and they're not easy, folks. As for the month of January, it really only requires 1 more trip via a plane. We discussed this a couple of nights ago. It's worthy of bringing back up. They will not, assuming they don't fly to Philly or Brooklyn. We know they're not going to fly to Brooklyn. Let's say they take the train to Philly in about a week. Those are the only 2 road games in the rest of January, at Philly and at Brooklyn. The next time the Knicks would have to take a plane would be February 4th. That's when they play in Toronto. So again, the schedule makers were not kind to the Knicks through the first 2-3 months. A little bit kinder in January and February. Again, 11 of 13 at the Garden. The Knicks have played 21 road games, tied for the most in the NBA. And they'll finally get a chance to 1, rest, 2, lick their wounds, and 3, play some home games, which is exactly what the doctor ordered. All right, as for the rest of the Knicks stats, we told you Bridges and Brunson each pumped in 24. Jericho Sims played 29 minutes, perhaps more than we expected him to play. Little surprised, Precious Achiuwa only played 22 minutes, while Jericho Sims played 29. Figured Sims would start, and then Achiuwa would get the bulk of the minutes at the 5. That didn't happen. Now, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges each played 42 minutes. Rough and tumble minutes, too. They were tough. Very physical night. Now, Bridges, who, as you know, has played an average of 39 minutes per game, tops in the NBA. Well, that number's going up. Again, he played 42 tonight, pretty much going the entire way. Josh Hart played 42 as well. Hart is just a fearless rebounder. He's got a lot of Dennis Rodman in him. Not a big guy, 6'5", 6'6" max, grabbed 14 rebounds tonight. 15 points, 14 rebounds for Josh Hart. 24 for Brunson, as we told you. Now, OG has been in a funk. There's no other way to say it. He played 35 minutes tonight and was quiet. 4 of 11 shooting, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block. As for the assist to turnovers, it was lousy tonight. The Knicks, just 16 assists tonight. Now, we told you a couple of nights ago, 30-plus assists is a good benchmark for the Knicks because that means they usually win. They have recorded at least 30 assists in a game 16 times this season. To give you a little perspective on exactly how many times 16 is, they did it 10 times all of last year. Obviously, the team is different, but still, you get the point. They went 82 games, dished out 30 assists just 10 times. They've already done it in 37 games, 16 times. They didn't do it tonight, obviously, and that's why we bring it up. They had just 16 assists. They committed 12 turnovers. So a terrible, terrible ratio there, 16 to 12. As for Orlando, they dished out 23 assists, and kudos to them for forcing those 12 turnovers. Knicks almost only forced 9 turnovers. And again, the combination of Wendell Carter and Jet Howard off the bench proved to be too much. Again, 103-94, the final score. All right, we will take our final break of the postcast. When we come back, we'll do the schedule, which, as we said, gets interesting. They don't have to go very far, but the competition stiffens. And again, we'll do all that coming up next. All right, from big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. As for tonight, obviously the Knicks were big favorites tonight. In fact, it went off at 12. They were giving Orlando 12. It actually started at 11.5, went up to 12. Obviously, the Magic covered because they win. The total was 208. Got close. 103.94 is 197, so the under hits. Magic plus 12, under 208. A few other numbers from around the league. Suns beat the Sixers by 10. Suns covered. They were laying 1. Pacers beat the Nets by 14. They covered. They were laying 11. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, final segment of the postcast as the Knicks lose to the Magic tonight at Madison Square Garden. New York has 2 5-game homestands scheduled over the next month, 4 remaining on the first one. It's a span during which the team will play 11 of its next 13 at Madison Square Garden. The only 2 games, as we said in January, remaining that are not at Madison Square Garden, in Philly next Wednesday, and then Brooklyn in 2 weeks. That's it, folks. Every other game in January, and trust me, there's plenty of them, every other game in January is a home game. So excellent stuff as far as a home portion of the schedule. As we said, Knicks have the most road games in the NBA. That's going to change. It'll continue this first 5-game homestand on Wednesday against Toronto, then Oklahoma City. And don't want to look past Toronto, but you know the Knicks have their sights set on Oklahoma City and perhaps some revenge for losing to OKC last Friday. They lost to Oklahoma City 117-107. They lost to the Bulls 139-126 in a pitiful defensive performance. They played better defense tonight, but it came against a lowly team, and thus the Magic beat the Knicks 103-94. So they've circled Oklahoma City, but 2 days later on Sunday, first day of the NFL playoffs, the Knicks have a day game at home against Milwaukee. So, as we said, the competition stiffens. Before we hit the road for Philadelphia, one final game at home. That'll be a week from today against Detroit. So, again, Orlando was a loss. Toronto, Oklahoma City, Milwaukee, Detroit, all at home. Then at Philly before 2 more home games, and then at Brooklyn, and then another 5-game homestand. So, as we said, the schedule was incredibly difficult the first 2.5 months of the season. But obviously things will change here. Yes, the competition stiffens. They've had the easiest schedule. Now they'll have the most difficult schedule. And they'll try and do so moving forward with the services of Karl Anthony Towns, which I would expect him back for Wednesday. Truth is, with the minutes these starters are playing for the Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns is going to have a sore knee every once in a while. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it from guys like Jalen Brunson as well. He's been listed as a game-time decision several times over the past couple of weeks. And now you know why. Yes, they're banged up, not suggesting they're faking injuries. They're banged up. They just need rest. The problem is they're playing every other day with a back-to-back coming up, and it's proving to be difficult. But again, they'll try and bounce back after tonight's loss. 103-94, again, was the final score. All right, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. Also want to mention our partners in crime over at Locked On Knicks, the All-Stars, Gavin Shaw and Alex Wolf. They handle all the stuff there. Again, Locked On Knicks, they're the best. So follow, subscribe, and enjoy. As we said, 103-94, the final score. The Knicks have suddenly found a streak for all the wrong reasons. 3 in a row. That's 3 losses for the first time this season. The Knicks overall are 24-13. They were 24-10. They're now 11-5 at home. But again, 2 5-game homestands coming up. Next up will be Toronto in 2 nights. Wednesday night from the Garden. We'll see you afterwards. It's been a pleasure. Remember, my name is Jay Berman. Follow me on X at Jay Berman, Jayberman. We will see you Wednesday night after the Knicks and the Raptors at the Garden.